Hello again, everyone, and welcome to MRN Outloud, presented by MoneyLion and also brought to you by Hercules Tires. I'm Woody Cain. Well, we're headed toward the fifth weekend of postponement in the COVID-19 era now, and we would have had an off weekend for Easter coming up on the schedule anyway. And even though iRacing, with some of NASCAR's top stars, has been filling the void, even that will be idle this weekend. However, it gives us an opportunity to dig a little deeper into that phenomenon. Who would have thought virtual racing on TV would be averaging over 1 million viewers each week? We'll hear from iRacing's Executive Vice President, Steve Myers. But first up, Kelley Earnhardt Miller has a brand new book out this week, and we had a chance to chat with her about that, as well as how things are going at Jr Motorsports, where she's co-owner and vice president. So that's where we'll start right after this.
Race fans, it's time to turbocharge your money with MoneyLion Instacash. Instacash is an easy, zero-interest cash advance that doesn't hurt your credit and with a limit up to $250. It's designed to help you cover unexpected expenses, like stocking up on groceries or filling up your tank. Just download MoneyLion and start using Instacash. Stop missing out and start joining in. Download the MoneyLion app today. MoneyLion, here we roar.
Citywide to countryside. Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires has the value, selection, and industry-leading warranty to get you there, no matter where the road takes you. Go to HerculesTire.com. There you can find the nearest authorized Hercules retail location to you. Plus, you can use the tire tracker to find out which Hercules tire fits your vehicle the best. That's HerculesTire.com. Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength.
We're joined now by Kelley Earnhardt Miller, the co-owner of Jr Motorsports, with her brother Dale Earnhardt Jr., the vice president and business manager of the operation, the daughter of the late Dale Earnhardt, and author. And that's why she's with us today to talk about Drive, 9 important lessons about how to win in business and life. And Kelley, you have a lot of hats going on right now, but the book's out now this week, and I was looking at some of the excerpts, and it's kind of interesting that it could very much apply. I know because of production schedules, you were working on this well before anybody knew anything about coronavirus, but when you look at it, it describes it as insight from a fellow traveler on a journey that is sometimes difficult, painful, unexpected, or confusing. You know, things like how to manage your emotions, living a balanced life, all things that we can apply right now today.
Yeah, it certainly is. Who knew that that was going to be the case? I was a little worried about leading into this. I've been working on this project for 18 months or more, and so last week I was nervous about what do you do? How do you talk about a book and so on and so forth? But what a great time to read, that so many people being at home, working from home, trying to do things from home. What a great time for a good message. And I'm excited about this book because there's some parts of it from a biography standpoint about growing up as Dale Earnhardt's daughter and some of my thoughts during that time period. But then leading into my experiences running Jr Motorsports, and so many of them can be applicable to what we're all facing and experiencing today with the coronavirus. And so, yeah, it's an interesting time for sure, but the book should be some much-needed medicine in a lot of cases.
Well, in thinking of trying to apply those today, if you could go back into a time machine, today's Kelley Earnhardt Miller, and talk to yourself as you had started this journey down the business path that you're on now, what advice would you give yourself that, what do you wish you had known then that you now know?
Oh, gosh. It's always a fun question because I think that the awesome thing is that all the experiences that we've all had as individuals from birth to now have shaped us, right? And, and they've shaped us into who we are. So who knows? LW, my husband, and I joke about this all the time. We were in the same circles for 20-some years and never had met each other. And we talk about meeting each other when we're 38 and 39 years old and how great that was. I mean, that was timing because we had done all the other junk in our life, so to speak. And had we met when we were 20 and running around in those circles with each other, who knows if those were relationships that would last. But if I were to look at some of these things that maybe, probably could have been a lot more helpful to maybe not have me make so many mistakes or choices or put myself in different situations, probably managing your emotions would be number one, because I'm a really emotional person. Every time I get in a conversation with Dale Jr., my brother, he's like, are you going to cry? Because I'm a crier.
Yeah. Yep.
I've always been a crier. And probably being authentic and approachable, probably the more authentic piece of it. And I just say that because, growing up as Earnhardt's daughter, it was very confusing to try to appease sponsors and appease fans and appease people and just be who you are, and what you are. And, I think a lot of people struggle with that in life as to whether they're trying to follow in a family member's footsteps or not, just being a unique individual and not being compared. Obviously Dale struggled with that a long time, with being compared to his dad and are you going to accomplish the same things as your dad did and all these kind of things. So, yeah, being authentic and probably managing my emotions would have been way more helpful 20 years ago.
Well, speaking of emotional times, you describe in the book some of the time around when your father passed and how your daughter Carson was very young at the time and the relationship wasn't then what many people might have thought it was. Can you tell us a little about that and those times? Because that has to be among the most emotional you've ever faced.
It was. My dad was a really, as you guys know, a tough cookie. And had a heart of gold and lots of great stories out there. Was a great person, but he was a tough person. And, I think like many of us, he was harder on the people that he was closer to, and that included us kids. And so, there were times when if we didn't do exactly what he thought we should do and behave how he thought we should act or whatever. And, when Carson was born, I was 27 years old. And so I'm not talking about being a kid and learning these lessons. I'm talking about being 27 and having your father tell you what to do and how he wants you to do things. And then in return, if it didn't go the way he thought it should go, kind of the way that he treated us or interacted with us sometimes would be different. And in that case, a lot of people don't know that I wasn't really speaking to my dad when he passed away. He wasn't really speaking to me. I wanted to speak to him, but he wasn't really speaking to me. I was involved in a relationship that he didn't approve of, and so instead of kind of taking me under his arm and working on that with me, he just decided the best thing to do was he just wasn't going to talk to me, and maybe that would, teach me a lesson, so to speak. And so Carson was born. Thankfully, she kind of bridged the gap a little bit, but, when my dad passed in the race in Daytona, it had been 3 or 4 weeks since I had spoken to him. The conversations were, not what you would think between father and daughter. And so it was really hard. And then, of course, after that, with everything that played out in terms of Teresa and the autopsy photos and all the different business that was going on, and it was a really difficult time in my life. But, again, I look back on it, and I tell my employees here at Jr Motorsports on many occasions, had not life, handed me what it's handed, I wouldn't be here working with them and leading them and us having this operation, and who knows what it would be like. So, I'm thankful for what's been placed in my life and moving on from whatever troubles have been displayed and trying to grow and learn from them. And the legacy of the Earnhardts is very important to me in sport, and so just keep moving that forward.
Speaking of the business side and helping you now, I imagine it's got to be a crazy time at Jr Motorsports with all the uncertainty. Every time we think we know what's going to happen, it changes again with the postponements and hoping to get all 36 races in. What are you guys thinking and doing and planning for, or trying to anyway, in this challenging environment?
Yeah, well, right now with the North Carolina stay-at-home order, we're all working from home. Obviously, our race team members really can't work on cars from at home and do things. Our engineers and crew chiefs and people like that are doing a lot of things over the computers and internet and things like that. But, there's a lot of employees that literally can't pick up a wrench and turn the wrenches on the race cars. So we're just kind of sitting idle and hoping that, we'll have some clarity here in the next, I hope. They say, obviously, they put out the information that they were hoping that we'd go back racing May 9th. I don't know if that's going to be the case, just looking at the world news and the stay-at-home in place and orders and things like that you're seeing. I don't know if that's really a feasible timetable. But, we've been having good conversation with NASCAR about what if we go back to racing, in this month or that month? What does things look like for you? Can you be prepared to do it this way or that way? What's, the logistics of this or that? So the conversation and communication has been great, and I think we're just all, everyone's waiting to see what's happening with the world, when the president's going to tell us that we can kind of ease up some, or your state's going to tell you that you can ease up. So it seems there's lots of varying opinions about that out there.
One of the items in the book, you mentioned a few. One of them is let go and move forward, and it seems like that would be a good one to apply now because with all the uncertainty and nobody knows what the schedule is going to look like, isn't it kind of forcing the sport to maybe try some things a little sooner than they had anticipated, some things that have been talked about for a while in terms of doubleheaders, midweek races, and things like that? We're now kind of almost forced to try those maybe sooner than anybody had expected.
Yeah, it's true. You know, I've always lived by this kind of motto that try not to worry about what you can't control. And that's kind of part of, you know, moving forward and kind of letting go of things that hold you back. And, you know, most of the time the things that hold us back is just the unknown, right? The fear in the unknown. And when you're forced to do things a different way, it's, you know, I wouldn't dream of my employees working from home. I mean, who wants to raise their hand and work from home? Probably half my staff, right? In the comfort of their own home and in their pajamas.
Right.
But, you know, that's unknown. You're not in control of them. You don't see them. You don't know what they're doing. But in the same token, it's been working out well. And in some cases, some people have really stepped up and risen to the top that you're like, wow, we're pushing out or pumping out a lot more than sometimes we even are able to here at the office with the different commotions and fires that you're trying to run around and put out. So It has forced us to do things differently, and I think you're put in a situation where you don't have much of a choice, and you do it, and your goal is to do it well and do it to your best of your ability, and then you figure out that, hey, wow, there's something to this. This could work like this, you know, and what were we scared of and what were we afraid of, that kind of thing. So I think the other part of that, though, is it gives you, like, being forced into doing something like that gives you a little grace, right? Because then it's not so much that you made the choice to do it. It's like you had to do it, you know, and then there's some grace factor. Because you know how our fans are, boy. They can grill you in a moment's notice on social media and really be upset. So
or less.
There's a little grace that goes along, right?
Absolutely. The book is called Drive, 9 Lessons to Win in Business and Life by Kelley Earnhardt Miller. Where can folks pick it up? I imagine it's at the big spots like Amazon, but how can folks get a hold of it?
Yeah, it's definitely on Amazon. They're shipping copies now. We're going to have it in our retail store when we ever get back open. We're working on getting it up on shopjuniornation.com. I don't know if bookstores, you know, around, I'm sure that many bookstores are still open around the United States that don't have stay-in-place orders. So, you know, it's going to be at Barnes & Noble and Books A Million and places like that. But for the best up-to-date information, you can follow my social handles. Twitter, you know, is Earnhardt Kelley, or you can look me up on Instagram, which is Kelley Earnhardt Miller. And I have a website for the book. It's KelleyEarnhardtDrive.com. So the best information's right there. And we've got different little specials going on where you can maybe hear the first chapter and things like that. So,
cool.
Yeah, lots of cool things.
Fantastic. Well, Kelley, we really appreciate your time. I know you're as busy as everybody else, even though we're all at home. Sometimes that even feels busier, but good luck figuring all this out because when we do come back, it is going to be slammed busy.
Sure is. I'm looking forward to it. I'm ready, and I appreciate you having me on today, Woody.
When we come back, we'll talk iRacing and how the digital realm has become such a popular format in this era of postponements.
MRN's Classic Races.
Labonte gets crossed up. Labonte goes around. Dale Earnhardt now watches Labonte spun across the line and got the win.
Spanning 50 years of NASCAR racing.
Barney Hall. There's a beautiful afternoon here in Daytona Beach, and the action will be fast and furious.
Legendary voices, legendary races.
Darrell, simply, what happened? I just hope he chokes on that 200,000. That's all I can tell him.
MRN's Classic Races, available on MRN.com, iTunes, and your favorite podcast providers.
He did touch. No, he knocked the hell out of me.
Race fans, it's time to turbocharge your money with MoneyLion Instacash. Instacash is an easy, zero-interest cash advance that doesn't hurt your credit and with a limit up to $250. It's designed to help you cover unexpected expenses, like stocking up on groceries or filling up your tank. Just download MoneyLion and start using Instacash. Stop missing out and start joining in. Download the MoneyLion app today. MoneyLion, here we roar.
Welcome back to MRN Out Loud. I'm Woody Cain, and it's time now for our Financial Crew Chief segment, where we hear from a NASCAR crew chief or executive about the coming race weekend. Now, with races being postponed, there is no race this weekend. There had been iRacing to fill that void, but even that is taking the weekend off for the Easter holiday. So, Mike Bagley had a chance to catch up with Steve Myers, who's the Executive Vice President of iRacing. This segment is presented by MoneyLion. It's the world's most powerful financial membership. MoneyLion, here we roar.
You and your team and your platform have provided us a lot of enjoyment and a lot of excitement over the years, but it seems like it's taken on even more importance now. What's going on around the halls of iRacing or in the virtual halls of iRacing these days?
Well, yeah, we've turned into a full-time broadcasting company. That's what it's turned into. It's been a crazy month. I just realized because as you know, we're not going to do a race this weekend on Easter Sunday, and I realized that's going to be the first day that our guys have gotten a day off in a month. So I think everyone's going to be celebrating a little bit of nice relaxation on Sunday. But yes, it's certainly been pretty wild 3-4 weeks here where, we're just every day we're, trying to pound out a new idea for a TV show or execute on a plan for a race. It's been pretty wild.
So many things to ask you about. First of all, we'll start with the TV show that you're referring to. NASCAR on Fox has been airing things. You've had other quote unquote shows as well. When folks hunker down and they watch it on Sunday afternoon and they watch what our folks at Fox are presenting, how are they getting that? How does that work? How do you know what quote unquote cameras to cut to? Give us the behind the scenes of what folks have been taking in on the weekend.
Yeah, so we've been very fortunate in that, we've been working on this for 16 years. We've been doing these broadcasts for 11 years with NASCAR alone, with our esports series. And so, when this all started, the reason why we were able so quickly to execute on it was because we've been doing it. And, we've had the relationship with NASCAR. We had the relationship with the drivers who are, a lot have been using the software since they were kids. And the work was really in how do we get our broadcast studio up here in Massachusetts talking with the broadcast studio in Charlotte. And, that first week going into Homestead, it was a lot of technical discussions between Drew Adamson, who's kind of runs our broadcast room, and engineers down in Charlotte, to the point where we didn't even do our first live broadcast until Friday night, the first rehearsal, the Friday night before the Homestead race. And so then we rolled into Homestead and we had a successful show. And at this point, it's now just kind of more refining it. Mark Smith, who's kind of the producer down in Charlotte, is calling up to Drew, where they're all communicating on TeamSpeak and kind of, all of the camera guys, everyone, they're all remote. There's only 2 guys that are in our broadcast room that's running the equipment in our office, and they are sending about 90% of what you see on TV down to Charlotte, where they're putting the commentary on top, doing the commercials and the videos and the intros. All of that is being done out of Charlotte, but 90% of what you're seeing on Sundays on your TV screen are coming from our Boston offices, and then most of it is being done from a couple machines in there that people are remoting into and manipulating to give you all those different camera shots and, graphics and standings, all of that.
Chatting with Steve Myers, the Executive Vice President and Executive Producer at iRacing.com. Steve, I want to ask you about the clarity and the precision of the simulation. We hear drivers say, yeah, when I run this track, it's exactly like that. Bump in 1 and 2, it's there. And, there's a lot of landmarks, and it's very crisp, and it is very, very accurate. How do you go about making it that way?
That was one of the things when we started the company, we really put a lot of time and effort into. And, we got into laser scanning before anyone else in this digital space of, creating games. So that very early on, I'd say 2005, 2006, we bought a laser scanner, and we take that to all of the racetracks and we laser scan the tracks so that they're digitally perfect. So every bump, every curb, every wall, every building, every light post, every fence, everything is exactly perfect where it should be in the real world on the day that we went and collect that data. And so if somebody, say, going into turn 1 at Richmond uses a building or a light pole as a reference point as they get later into a run as to where they need to make a turn in to get the proper arc through the corner, all of those things are in the virtual space. So that's why I think it's so easy for these drivers to come in and use our platform to not only train, but also to kind of get racecraft and experience how do I, on worn tires, get around, a different line around the track. all of those the things that race car drivers can't practice that anymore. They don't get testing anymore. They don't, you can't go to a Dick's Sporting Goods and buy a race car off the rack to go run around in your backyard. And if you could, you need a pretty big bank account to do it. So I think our platform lends itself to getting people interested in racing and being able to practice and use the product to help themselves professionally, because we put so much effort into recreating these things as perfectly as possible.
A lot of folks think that this is NASCAR only, but there are other forms of motorsports. What all do you have, and what all kinds of racing can one engage in at iRacing.com?
Oh, you can do everything you can think of, all the way from it's the four-wheel drive off-road trucks to rally cars to Formula One cars to Indy cars to V8 supercars to sports cars to open wheel cars, and ranging all the way from Legends cars up to Cup cars to Skip Barber school car to an F1 car. I mean, there's everything in between, and I think that's the beauty about what we have as a product, is that we're not solely reliant on one particular type of racing to help us as a business and support our customer growth. Because we're doing a little bit of everything, there's something for everyone's desire on our platform. So, but it's also very interesting from a social, aspect, in that, we watch it all the time that, we'll see particularly Europeans that have never had any interest in NASCAR, because you're exposed to it on our platform, and because you get a Legends car and a street stock and some ovals in your base, content. These guys are going out and trying it and understanding that, it's not just a bunch of guys turning left and rush out of traffic. Like, this actually takes a specific skill set, and there's much more that goes into it than people can realize from just sitting on their couch and watching it on TV.
For the listener out there that is moved to want to become an iRacer, where do they start, and what kind of resources are available out there for them to learn what they need so they can get online and join us and race and have fun too?
Yeah, it's easy. I mean, you just go to our website at www.iracing.com. All of the information that you need to know, what kind of computer you need, what kind of hardware you need, can all be found right there on our website. And you can sign up for a month for less than $10 right now, and to try it and see if it works for you, if your computer can handle it. Most people probably, if you have a PC in your home, a desktop PC, it probably can handle running the software. And then it's just a matter of, you can go on Amazon or Best Buy, and for less than $300, just get a simple wheel and pedal set that you can clamp to your desk and join in the racing. You go to our website, you sign up for an account, you download the software. Within 20 minutes, you can be on track racing. So it's very easy, it's very simple, and it's a lot cheaper than buying a set of tires on a race car.
It has come along in just the nick of time here, and it's keeping a lot of folks entertained while we're in this quarantine of racing. And we appreciate you and your team and all you guys have done to get this up and running, not only necessarily from the iRacer perspective, but obviously from the race watcher perspective, watching these races week in and week out.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I mean, it really is powering us through this to see all those comments and the people that maybe never knew what iRacing was or don't even have any interest in iRacing or video games or simulated racing, but to see the comments about people, how this is giving them a couple hours of fun and entertainment, and seeing the sport that they love and the stars that they follow do something entertaining for them and fun. It has really powered us through and motivated us to keep putting out these good races.
That's Steve Myers, Executive Vice President and Executive Producer at iRacing.com.
All right, thanks, Mike and Steve. MRN Out Loud has been presented by MoneyLion and also brought to you by Hercules Tires. I'm Woody Cain saying we'll see you next week right here for another edition of MRN Out Loud.